Hello and welcome to episode 44 of The Imperial Truth. I'm Greg. Joining me as usual is Neil.
Hello, Greg.
Hello, Neil. Before we go anywhere else, because we will waffle and chat today, let's do our sponsors.
Indeed.
So Miles at Lil Legend Studio.
Indeed, yeah. He's, I believe you saw him today, Greg?
I did indeed. We were recording the night of WarhammerFest and Miles was up there. We were having a good chinwag and he was accosting authors as well. He has an interesting dream about John French, but that's probably left unsaid because it sounds more sordid that way. He did worry John when he said, "I had a dream about you last night."
Don't sound weird. Don't sound weird. I had a dream about you.
But that was cool. So he also showed me a couple of photos, work in progress photos, which we're not going to share yet. Ready for the event, which is cool.
Very
so
exciting.
that's exciting. So if you're after cool models, well painted, centerpiece models particularly, that's his specialisation, then Lil Legend Studios is the place to go.
Indeed, he's got some great stuff on his Twitter as well. I've been watching his Instagram quite closely recently because he does put up some interesting conversions. Yeah. Which is something I'd like to cover in another show maybe at some point, but he really does do some interesting stuff with the plastics as well as the resin bits. Yeah, definitely. It's something that we can... I must admit, when he tweets with the hash, with the @Imperial_Truth on it, then it just keeps getting retweeted and retweeted. It gets picked up by someone else and tweeted, and you kind of go, "Oh, I've got a note. Oh, that was like 2 weeks ago," and someone's retweeted it again. Yeah, it does cracking work, really good work. So that's Miles. The other one is Element Games.
Element Games, indeed. So we do have the Warhammer Quest Silver Tower released, pre-released this week, coming out on the 21st. If you're an old school gamer and you play Warhammer Quest, this is very much a modernised version of it.
With a lot of very cool new looking models, I must say.
Some amazing models, and we'll talk
about
that.
They do really, I think with these themed games that they seem to do, they do some amazing models.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. And that's £95 from GW. So knock 20% off that. Buy a pot of paint or whatever to get you back over 80. Free shipping. You need the paint anyway. And save yourself loads of money.
yes, indeed. In fact, I think I was watching Twitter and someone from GW posted up, Silver Tower up for pre-order, go, go, go. And then literally the tweet after that was Element Games going, pre-order now for 20% off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I thought was quite aptly timed.
Yeah, definitely. So they're working away on the Northwest Gaming Centre, what was the Northwest Gaming Centre up at Stockport. So they posted some photos of that, and I think I may have retweeted them. But that venue, as I've described it before, is not ideal. The way it's looking at the moment, it's looking really professional.
I think I saw the one, where they put new lights in.
Yeah, they put a lower...
Straight away, I looked at that and went, wow, that's a massive improvement straight away.
Lowered the ceiling as well, I think. So, sound's not going to bounce around in there so much, so it's easier to hear. Things like that as well. Made it much brighter. Yeah, looking really good. So I'm really excited for Element Games. And remember, you got your crystals as well. So, get with your mate, share your crystal codes, get some extra, money back, essentially, and use it to buy more toys.
Exactly. And not to forget that, obviously, click the ad from our website to support the show. Yeah,
just to clarify this, I've had a couple of people kind of question me on the advert. If you use an ad blocker when you're looking on the internet, when you go to theimperialtruth.com, you won't see the advert because it will be blocked by the ad blocker. So if you want to come and support the show through Element Games, the only way that affiliate link works is through that affiliate link. Unfortunately, telling them that you listen to the show, it has to be automated to make it worth their while, essentially. So if you use an ad blocker, just put theimperialtruth.com. We're not going to spam adverts. We're not going to become Bella Lost Souls.
Yes.
Yeah, so you can put it on your safe list. And use, I don't use an ad blocker, but yeah. So if you do use an ad blocker, you're not going to see the advert. I think it's one of those things that the people who use them get so used to it, they go to sites and they forget they've got it on, kind of thing.
Yeah, I could imagine it's quite easy to do.
Yeah, so I've had a couple of people kind of contact me to question me about that. How do I do that? It's like, and they brought it up. I use an ad blocker. I'm like, that'll probably do it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's an ad.
So yeah, that's all good. So yeah, that banner's an advert effectively. But yeah, that's cool, and massive thank you for anyone who's ordered that as usual. And it's great to see Element.
The great thing is, it doesn't cost any extra to click on that ad.
No, that's the beauty of it. If you want to keep all the crystals between you and your mate, awesome, do it. If you just want to just give an extra 5 seconds to go to our website to click through, then as I say, it just helps the show. Which is gravy.
Indeed.
Brilliant. And then one more thing before we really chat about what we've been up to. I think I failed to mention this previously, so forgive me, but it has been posted up on the Facebook group, is the Warlord charity raffle. So this is Freddie the Swede. Unfortunately, his kid has got, I don't know, I'm going to try and remember the name of it, essentially muscular dystrophy, and it's you can hear him talk about it on the, I'm going to remember, Varangian Heresy, the new podcast. I'm not going to pretend to know exactly what this is all about, but it's something where it hasn't received a lot of funding, and not as much is known about it as a lot of other things, et cetera, et cetera. So his kid's got it. He's doing some fundraising to help go towards, the scientists to work it out and to hopefully flipping smash it in the face. And the prize is being donated by Scattershot, is a Warlord Titan painted.
Fantastic.
Which is a hell of a prize.
Yeah, you can't ask for a bigger prize, can you, really?
No. And for $35 American, I think it is, for a ticket, even if you buy one ticket, it's not a huge amount of money. Well, it's the amount of money it is, and sometimes that's tight, and that's fair enough. No one's going to have a go at you for not doing it. But for what is it? It's effectively a small amount with a chance to win a Warlord Titan. Yeah, I'm tempted to throw a couple of goes in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because all the
and what you're doing is going to a good cause as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah. So if you are interested, we will put the link in the show notes. It goes to a page which tells you all about it, much better than I did. That's for sure. And you can buy your tickets through that as well. Purchase your tickets, and it'll be good to kind of support the charity. It's something that I think maybe I might kind of look at a bit more organised charity giving in our community in the UK as well going forwards. But
it has been done quite well by other people, and I think it's a good way of getting people involved.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not use our powers for good?
I was having a chat with a painting friend of mine, and she was keen on doing a painting-based charity event, asked if I would contribute to it, and I said, oh yeah, more than willing. So, it's nice when the community get together and do these things. Definitely.
So you've said that on a podcast now, so that has to happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
we can talk about that offline. So yeah, as I say, I'll put the link in the show notes. If not, go over to the Varangian Heresy or look on our Facebook group that's there as well. And as I say, so, to win a Warlord, $35, not a bad shout. And as I say, that money's going somewhere good as well.
Exactly.
Which is a very cool one. I don't know if they had anything else, but so Freddie talks about all that kind of stuff. I'll get Freddie to, maybe give us some more information if we need it as well, which will be cool. Yes, so that one done. So, as usual, Neil is painting.
Yes, I am. And guess what I'm painting?
Right leg?
Left leg.
Left leg. Perturabo's left leg.
Yes, yeah.
Excellent stuff. How's that coming on?
Yeah, slow. Still very, very slow. I'm starting to get into the mode a bit. Haven't done much painting the last couple of weeks, but tonight I'm going to try and really nail this leg. I know it sounds really sort of tedious, but if I can get this leg done tonight, I'll be a happy man.
Excellent stuff. Have you been playing?
No, I haven't played at all. In fact, my only real foray was into getting some lists written for our event and talking to some of my friends about our event and trying to work out what I'm going to take and what I need to get painted in time.
Fair enough. That's cool. I must admit, I kind of have broken the non-painting thing. Kind of managed to get some paint on some models the last couple of weeks.
And how did that feel?
Yeah, good. I've got, the problem is I bought a couple of second-hand, like, rhinos and a Vindicator, and as I'm painting them, it's like they haven't been put together very well, and as I'm painting them, I'm like, no, this is really starting to annoy me. Yeah, they might have to be shoved.
Yeah, that is, I mean, yeah, if something's not built right.
No, yeah, unfortunately the Vindicator, like the front bit that goes over and curves around the hatch has been put like forwards and down a level.
Oh, right.
That's really quite bad. And then the Rhino's just got a few gaps and things like that. And I'm like, I'm just starting to get a bit OCD about this now. They'll have to be chopped up for terrain or something, I think.
That's always an option, isn't it? Buy a night Titan and then stick it on the base all smashed up.
Yeah, too right. So there's potential for things like that. But my Leviathan's almost done, which hopefully I'll get some pictures up of that over the next week or so.
Lovely.
So it's quite cool. Unfortunately, I've got very yellow lighting in here and I need to get my light box sorted to be able to take decent photos. Otherwise, it looks just like one colour when it's, quartered paint scheme.
That quarter paint scheme, eh? So troublesome.
Only to take photos of, really. It's surprisingly easy, actually. I've been quite amazed. We're using the gun, the air thing.
The airbrush?
That's the one. Oh, it's doing well. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning. So,
dear.
it's been a long day. You can hear from the throat as well. It's been a long day. So yeah, the airbrush, bit of tape on that. It's been working okay. Still can improve things, but the quartering's actually much less difficult than I thought it was, which is good, very good. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yes, yes.
That's as simple as that.
Easy is important.
Yeah, definitely is. So that's what I've been doing. Hopefully, editing this tomorrow will be bit more painting time and I can start to really get to grips with making it more regular again.
Yes.
That's half the battle, isn't it?
It is. It's getting sat down in front of the painting table, I think, is the first battle. I can be quite bad myself for procrastinating and thinking, I'll just start watching this film, or before I do it, I'll just do this, I'll just clean up this and I'll just do that, and then you end up going, that's an hour gone now.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, you go, there's no point starting, and then you're back to square one.
Yeah, it's also been quite good today, talking to a few of the heavy metalers and a few of the studio painters, and Emma and Duncan from Warhammer TV. Hello, Duncan.
Hello, Duncan.
You're listening to this episode.
Love you, Duncan.
Indeed. Duncan's brilliant. Emma's brilliant as well. Don't get me wrong. They're both great.
I saw them quite a lot on Twitter, actually, and they're sort of all both standing next to each other. And I saw a lot of selfies with them, and I thought, I can see a lot of people doing that.
They're proper little celebrities. It's quite cool. Just talking to those guys who obviously have a love of painting has been pretty good as well, because they're kind of just talking about, do this, and I'm like, well, you're not going to teach me to do anything new today, don't worry about it. But just listening to them talk about painting is quite cool. It's like, I've really got to crack on.
I have found, I always used to find the old games day massive motivation for painting.
Yeah.
I'd always come out of there thinking, wow, I've seen some amazing models. I want to get my brushes out. I want to start painting. Yeah,
cool. And the problem is, ever since I got that Mechanicum army up, I can use that Mechanicum army everywhere. But and that sometimes knocks you back. But there's plenty of stuff to be getting on with there. So I think that's pretty much what I've been up to. The rest has been WarhammerFest. So what we'll do is we're going to do all that news in with the WarhammerFest just because it's easier.
Where the news is.
Yeah, we might just have a little bit of a chat. Or should we do the FAQ stuff now?
Yeah, FAQ and the books.
Okay, so those who aren't aware, 40k Facebook group, the official Games Workshop one, has put up their draft of the FAQ.
Yes.
New FAQ.
And is it fair to say, I mean, I haven't got too involved in the community going mad, but is it, as it's a draft, is it an official, right, that is it set in stone?
No, they seem to be, I didn't read it fully, but they seem to be accepting feedback in the right manner, as usual. And there's certainly hopes from certain aspects of the community that feedback will be taken on board. This does affect us naturally. We do use the 40k rule set. Forge World have no plans to go against that, so they will use it. I have heard, I was talking to one member of staff who said that they were scratching their head at a couple of the decisions, certainly. But yeah, they're going to be using it. So it's something we need to look at and we need to be aware of. And it's caused certain answers in that have caused some consternation. I think the first thing for me is this is an FAQ. So a lot of people have said, oh, they've changed this rule. Well, no, that's not what an FAQ does. An errata changes a rule or changes something. An FAQ clarifies something. Now, if it clarifies it to a different way than the way you were playing it, then technically it's because you were playing it wrong. Now, there may be the odd example where the FAQ kind of flies in the face of what it should be, but that doesn't happen a huge amount. So, you know, they're not changing the game. They're maybe clarifying what they meant from the start.
It's amazing, isn't it, with a rule set that we think is quite developed as it is, but we still always end up with these quandaries, don't we, of not knowing exactly what something means and people having to read between the lines.
Yeah, and I think it's because part of the nature of the way Games Workshop work, there is that kind of acceptance from them that you can change the rules if you want to and all this. And in fact, Age of Sigmar may have been a major driver in a change of attitude in terms of that. So actually talking to Jervis today, and he said, you know, we got it wrong. We got the release of Age of Sigmar wrong because we expected the community to understand what we were giving them. And maybe it's their own fault in that they've always gave you points before, but they thought that the community would be okay with, you know, this is your game, go and use it, where actually they want more guidance than that.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said with they took a very bold step.
Yeah.
And I think, and you know what, there's nothing against Games Workshop because I think everything they do for the right reasons, but I think that what they're doing now with like the General's Handbook is almost a way of saying, okay, guys, we see what you like and what you don't like. We're giving you some options. Yeah,
and it's maybe had some conversations on the way home from WarhammerFest with Pete in the car, and maybe it's just they had that assumption because Games Workshop have always worked to that kind of rule of change our game, change it, and maybe they just assumed people would and did and whatever, and they haven't as much. So. Yeah, I think going back, they would release Age of Sigmar in a different way. But I think part of maybe, well, two things. We've seen this whole turnaround of GW in the last 6 months, but also that as well has kind of gone, oh, hold on, guys. People really want us to do this. It's not the small minority online saying, oh, can we get this cleared up, please? But it's, okay, maybe we will be more proactive in it. That's my opinion anyway, of one very good reason why this may have happened. But yeah. You know, and there's a lot of stuff. The problem is it's frequently asked questions again. So frequently asked questions doesn't mean here's the things that Games Workshop think need to be clarified. Frequently asked questions is these are the questions we've been frequently asked.
Yeah.
So when you see the ones where it's like, well, why was that even needed an answer? It's because they've been frequently asked it.
Yeah, and I know some of them you read and you think, that is obvious. What are you trying to get to?
Yeah,
by some ways, like you say, if they keep getting asked, they obviously is people that don't know or can't read it right. So yeah, we're just going to change it.
Yeah, I think sometimes
what it's going to be.
I think sometimes people are playing against opponents who are purposefully playing things wrong, as well.
Yeah, they find or slight wording that they think they can exploit.
Yeah, but
it might be quite obvious to you or me of how it's meant to be played, but if they can find a wording in there that they can bend to their own ends.
Yeah, so things like the classic one for me is, do you have to nominate all your shooting with a unit, before rolling the dice? Like if you're splitting fire, things like that. It's something along those lines. And the answer is yes. And I'm like, well, of course you do. It says you pick a unit, then you pick the targets of those units, then you fire the unit, not a gun, not a thing like that. And it's one of those little bugbears of mine playing down the club, and people forget. Sometimes people just forget, and they're like, I'll fire my battle cannon over there, roll for it, and then the super heavy fires the guns. And it's like, whoa, slow down, son. You nominate them all first. Do I? Yeah, because otherwise, if you kill that, you can fire at something else. Oh, yeah, cool, yeah, no worries, carry on.
Yeah, and I've fallen into that trap myself. It's easy to get carried away with, I'm just going to fire that, and then I'm going to fire that, and then I'm going to fire that.
I've had the advantage of I played Space Wars for donkey's years, so I've always had the split fire rule in my army with the long fangs. So right from the first moment, I'm like, no, I have to nominate. These two are shooting at that. So I've always done it. But with the propensity of super heavies now, I'm surprised that it hasn't kind of sunk in to certain areas. I mean, it might be, a small minority that have thinking, but that's an example of a question that didn't really need to be answered, but apparently does.
Yeah.
It's the way it is. And some of the answers are because old editions had rules that allowed you to do things. So
yeah, and people get a little bit confused.
Yeah, so plasma cannons. Can I re-roll the one to get hot on a plasma cannon via preferred enemy? No. But 2 editions ago you could. So that's an easy one to get mixed up. Again, some people say, well, no, it says it in the rules. But, 2 editions ago it was a different rule, and, I've been playing for 5 editions. So, yeah, there's a bit of that as well. But it's all fun, as they say, until we got to a couple of answers that caused...
Yeah, there was, one I knew of a lot that was going mental.
Yeah, should we deal with that first? And other podcasts have talked about it. So, essentially, you can only use 1 grenade in combat.
Which, to me, was a bit of a, why? Moment.
Now, this was a classic example of everyone going, I can't believe you've changed this rule. And then the next person going, yeah, that's right. That's the way it's been worded for a while. And it's like, people are like, really? Yeah. And then there's discussion about whether it is worded that way and everything else. I think the draft will probably clarify that, make it a lot clearer one way or t'other, whether that's throwing grenades. And then the people who are saying that melter bombs aren't grenades, well, they come under grenades. That's not, the game isn't designed to differentiate that.
I think that in my mind, it was why can you buy grenades for every single squad member than say they can only use 1? And there was elements in there, I think, that maybe it might be that the things are written in other editions, because I don't think that rule was in the last. That wasn't a rule in the previous 40k, was it? That everyone could use a grenade.
It's in the first line, I think. But anyway, you ask, why can you buy your whole squad then? Well, redundancy. It means that, like most options, things like melt bombs, you can either buy it for the sergeant, and he has his own points, or you can buy it for the whole unit. Now, if your sergeant's got it, and he just goes and slaps 1 on, great. But if your sergeant dies, then you lose that. But if you're buying the metal bombs, the price of them then makes it maybe prohibitive. So that becomes an issue maybe that way. But then, again, this conversation's gone on in various places online, and there's almost as many, not quite as many, but almost as many people saying, yeah, too right, because metal bombs are doing this and making it too easy to do this, as opposed to the people who are like, oh, now I can't deal with this. And, and when you see when you see both sides of it arguing, kind of, it's not quite 50-50, but that tends to lead me towards, well, actually, seems to be a fair enough rule. The one issue I have with 30k is you get 20-man tactical squads. You know, you're relying maybe on one sergeant with one power fist. If you're playing a knight army, that becomes a bit of a...
Yeah, and for me with Night Lords, they have very limited heavy firepower options, and putting melter bombs on assault squads is one of your ways of dealing with super heavies.
Yeah, I don't actually think it's a problem with the bomb rules. I actually think it actually comes down to not a problem per se, but an effect of the amount of quality heavy armour and flare shields.
Yes.
And I think they are so abundant particularly in the meta, because they're good anyway, even if melter bombs, there are lots of them. But, you know, you're Spartan. You always, how do I take down a Spartan? Well, if you're relying on long-range firepower, it's not very reliable. Now, if you're relying on running a melter bomb squad into them, you could say that's not very reliable because you can drive away and do all this, but you can at least threaten space and things like that. It's a tough one.
You can make your opponent think twice.
Yeah.
About charging the Spartan forward and dropping his Terminators off.
Yeah, and there are arguments that, like you said, no, why can I only use one? Well, maybe it represents the fact that a number of people are trying to use them, but should you all be able to clamp a melter bomb to a speeding Spartan that easily?
Does it represent the fact that they are so big that each squad member only has one, so they're not going to suddenly go, let's all chuck our melter bombs at one target?
No, indeed. And it could go either way, as far as I'm concerned. This answer could go either way. To be honest, whichever way it goes, I think we have to, personally from my point of view, you have to accept that, because if I go to the club and there's someone new at the club this week and he wants to play Heresy and I'm like, yeah, cool, I'll give you a game. I'm not going to turn around to him and go, oh yeah, by the way, I'm going to use all my melter bombs. And he's going to go, well, that's not a rule because I've got all the FAQs here and it says you're only allowed to use one. It's like, that can cause some issues because he's unaware.
I think if people have been, I think that melter bombs have been especially in 30k, the only viable way of dealing with a lot of things. And then suddenly having that taken away is a case of, how am I going to actually deal with my opponent that I play every week and he's got a Titan?
Yeah, I mean, Titans are a different issue. They kind of compound that issue. But I know for the event I'm running, I will use the FAQ in whatever form it's in. That may change then the way I approach certain aspects of it, because there then might be more of those issues. But we'll have to look at it as a whole. You have to look at it as a whole as well. But
and as we were saying before, it doesn't stop you saying, actually, in my group, we're going to allow all the members of the squad to use grenades.
Yeah, but bearing in mind that, you know, if someone's new to your group, then that can become an issue, because I have seen, well, in our group we do this without kind of, if you want to play in our group, accept it. And it's like, well, actually sometimes, you know, you have to compromise. And it wouldn't bother me. The key to know is to know beforehand if you are doing that. If you're not playing the game by the rule book, then you should be making people aware that you have house rules. And there's nothing wrong with house rules, but everyone coming to that game should be aware that there are house rules attached to it. It's what it's about, making sure that everyone's aware of what's going on. But yeah, melter bombs. Hey, who'd have thunk it?
Yeah, I know.
Crazy. It was a bit kind of weird, because I must admit I've been playing use all your melter bombs.
Yeah, and I was as well. When I read that rule of only one can be thrown per phase, I took thrown and shooting. And that's all. I took that as throwing grenades as shooting phase, and rather than combat as well. And
yeah, it may be that they say, "Oh yeah, no, we meant you can only stand and shoot with one." Yeah, except you can't do that. But they're not specifically talking about melter bombs; they're talking about crack grenades, which is actually almost a bigger issue than the knights. Maybe the monstrous creatures, the Castellaks, the Voraks, things like that. Castellaks particularly.
Your Marines rely on.
Yeah, you know, toughness 7 for your Castellaks. You can't hurt it normally. Struggling, aren't you?
Yeah.
No, you can't you? 6s? Yeah.
But still,
but yeah,
having
there are
grenades is a great option.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
going, only one guy can use one. It's like, oh god.
I'm thinking of the big beastie with the old plasma mortar. Where you can't hurt it. Then it's only got 4 wounds. Then suddenly it makes it more survivable in combat than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Mine usually dies quite quickly. But so you can actually sometimes you can see why one works. But whether the other thing you've got to remember is this is a 40k FAQ, 30k runs off the back of 40k. So 40k needs to work as its own game. 30k needs to work then off the back of that. 40k needs to worry about 40k.
Yeah.
So
it could be even to the fact where Forge World
adapt to the Age of Darkness.
FAQ their stuff to say, right, okay, our rules are going to have to adapt slightly.
Yeah, and Age of Darkness FAQ.
Yes.
Again, that's another possibility, but it's something that, who knows? I don't know how this is going to fold out. I'm sure we'll find out sooner rather than later what's going on in that. I mean, there's some funny ones like, I think the guns on the defence lines, if both sides are near them, they can both use them in their own turns. So they can share them effectively, little things like that. And that seems to me as one of those rules where it's like, really? Surely none or one.
Yes.
Yeah, and that makes sense to me. Why would you... Oh, yeah, I'll get off this and let you fire it now.
Yeah, I did just shoot you. Your turn.
Yeah, all of those little things. It's like, ooh, interesting. But, I mean, I don't want to go through individual FAQ answers. I say a lot of them are pretty standard, sensible stuff.
And I had a quick look, and I must admit the first couple I read then were really sort of simple and obvious answers, and I didn't read much after that.
No, I mean, they're nicely handled, though. Page for each kind of area that the question's coming from, things like that. They're doing a good job because we had the Age of Sigmar ones done. They're doing 40k individual army ones as well. So it's good to see.
I did see a good cartoon based around the Meltable ones, which is something I then passed on to my friends, and someone's drawn a cartoon of a Leviathan Dreadnought, and then there's a big group of Marines around it, and the sergeant is just shouting out, right, whose turn is it to use the melter bomb?
Yeah, that's the old, the Texas guys, I think, did that one as well, the old YouTubers. But yeah, there's some cool, everyone's having a bit of fun with it. I think the key is, particularly, it's a draft. Let's not get too irate yet.
Yeah, that was my opinion.
A draft is a place to get things wrong, if that's what they've done. So it's no good wailing and gnashing of the teeth and the tearing of the cloth when in a week's time it could come out and be the way you want it to be. You just look a bit silly. It's like, I can't believe they've done this. And they come out and go, yeah, sorry, actually we meant this. Oh, okay.
But then again, though, if those people don't do that, maybe that wouldn't happen.
No, but you don't wail and gnash the teeth. You write a considered response to the team, either on the Facebook post or by email, with a kind of an explanation, not a, oh my God, you just ruined the game. It's actually in this circumstances, how are we supposed to kill knights? Most squads can't do it, blah, blah, blah. It makes the game a non-entity and things like that. You can argue a point without, let's say, just moaning and because they just won't listen to it.
And I don't blame them for not listening to it.
No, they'll look at it and just go, yeah, don't bother with that. Don't bother with that. If you keep doing those kind of things, then you'll get blocked from their Facebook pages and things like that, because it's not what the community needs. Really needs much more measured feedback. So I'm not going to go through the lot. Go and Google
any other
search.
big 30k ones that sort of really affect.
Not that I can remember, to be honest. There probably are. I'm probably missing them now. But as you say, I mean, they might change going forwards. So it's not something I'm going to be hugely worked up about.
Yeah, I think with all these things, you just have to roll with the punches. It's like when they release a new edition of 40k. Then everyone goes through it going, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah, what I was going to say was they also released the Death from the Sky supplement with the extra flyer in. And there's a whole sub-game now, if you want, of doing these battles and formations with the flyers to give you rules, and haven't looked too deeply into it. But it's like, I'm not going to use it. That's not, for me, that is not what I want in my heresy. So, and I'm sure the other guys I play with will probably be the same. But I can see us going, let's try it, if we've all got enough flyers. So, you know, you don't have to use these things. You pick and choose. You've got your red books, you've got your black books for the heresy, you've got your rule book for 40k. There are loads of other stuff you can bring if you want, but you don't have to. You know, let it roll, let it go. But there's some cool, but there's some
Let it
potential.
go, there's a song about that, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. But there's some cool stuff in there if you want to have an extra, you know, if you want to do a dogfight next to your army or whatever. You know, say I haven't looked through the book completely, but yeah, cool. You know, if you want to bring rules from another game into your game, a whole completely different company. I really like the way they've done this. So we're going to have this little sewer fight over here using X companies like skirmish rules. Cool. You know, if it's what you enjoy and your opponent's going to enjoy, do it. If you're not going to enjoy it, your opponent's not going to enjoy it, take it out. Go and knock yourself out, have fun. Yeah, so I think we'll move on from the FAQ. It's just one of those things. We'll have a quick break and we'll come back and we'll chat WarhammerFest. And back into WarhammerFest 2016. It's been 18 months since the last one.
Oh, it's a long time.
It feels like a long time, certainly does. So, I think it's going to be in this slot. I didn't really ask, to be honest. We'll have to see going forwards. But usual kind of thing. So a little quick rundown. Again, you've got main room where you had all the sales stuff. They had all the digital stuff in there, which is quite a lot now. Moving upstairs, they had Forge World in one area. So we had specialist games on one side, Lord of the Rings, and then the main Forge World lot, which was...
So was that the very sort of... Because it's all on different floors,
that was the
very top floor?
Middle floor.
Middle floor, oh, okay.
Middle floor. And then the seminar room as well. And then top floor, you had the cabinets, and they had the staff's armies out.
Yes, that'll be Golden Demon for tomorrow.
Indeed. And then we had the Heresy display with the Stormbirds that we saw at the Heresy weekend. What else did we have? We had the authors up there for signings, and then all the GW designers and main studio teams, and Duncan, and they had
Duncan and Emma.
They had
Hi, Duncan.
three display pods, demo pods up there. Forge World had 2 downstairs. So there was stuff going on. And then opposite, actually forgot to say, on the ground floor, opposite the sales area, they had a number of tables for gaming. And they had 3 or 4 tables sat out demoing the Silver Tower, Warhammer Quest, and a few other little bits and pieces going on in there. Oh, they had the kit bashing again, which was
did they?
quite packed.
Did they do a full scrap demon?
Yeah, I saw Daniel Harris, a mate of mine, made he had 2 Marines and 2 Tyranids on a base as his little thing. So yeah, there was loads of stuff going on in there, in terms of sprues everywhere and all that.
I like that one. It's great as well if you want to pick up some free models.
Yeah, too right. So it was cool. It was, remember when you came to the first one?
Yes.
Did you go on the Saturday or the Sunday?
Sunday.
Yes, because you went to Golden Demon.
I did.
All the feedback I got was Sunday was much busier than the Saturday.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The first year I went, the Saturday wasn't hugely popular. This year, we got there a bit earlier than we planned to, actually. And I'm really glad we did, because I'd gone in, purchased my Forge World, walked out of the main room, and the queue was all the way down the length of the corridor and out the front door.
Oh,
and I was like, ooh, blimey, that is, has taken some time. So I was upstairs looking at quite a few bits before, like, people were even in, which was
Do you know what? I always say these events, I always like to get there early.
Yeah.
Get there early, get in the queue, get your stuff purchased before you do anything else, and then just enjoy the rest of the day rather than worrying about the queue.
Yeah, and for me, there was only the things I bought. We should probably go into that now, actually. There are a number of things. So we had the event model for the year.
And did you get one?
I got one and ordered a few more for friends.
Cool.
So you were only allowed to purchase one until later in the day, but you could order as many as you want.
Okay, that's fair enough.
And by the time I went back, they didn't have any left anyway, so I had to order them. So that was the only thing that it was event only.
Okay.
There were no event only books or anything else. So that we had the Ursarax that were on, pre-available, as it were.
Yes, the ones we saw at Weekender.
Yeah, which are looking amazing. We had
the paint job on them is really good as well.
Yeah,
the new paint team must be churning those out, because I looked at them and someone's done a really good job on those.
They're quality. The Crusade Imperialis book was again pre-release, so that was the one thing I really wanted to get, that I knew that I wanted to be there early for. We had the Medic and his little chopped off leg man.
Yes, and the leg, yeah.
Which is amazing, with pretty cool rules as well. Won't go too much into that, but we've seen it before. But yeah, the fact they brought it out as a model is pretty awesome, as far as I'm concerned. It looks great.
The leg?
Yeah, the leg. You get the leg with it.
I love the fact he had to go back and sculpt that leg.
I know, it's brilliant.
I love the way Tony Cottrell was, where's the leg?
Yeah, exactly. What Tony says goes.
Yeah.
We had the Legion dice with the numbers on the sets.
Were they?
They were there. I picked up some Sons of Horus ones for Dan at the club.
Excellent.
Yeah, they look sweet. And then what else did we have? The Iron Circle. They were there as well on pre-release. I think
they
that
must
was
have been quite popular.
Yeah, I think they sold out. So I think that was it for pre-release in terms of Forge Roll, which is a fair amount.
Yeah,
which is really good to see. I think the event models were selling. £25 is not cheap, and actually one of the new guys, he's only been with Forge Roll for 6 months, and I cannot remember his name, sculpted him. And when you go and look at the kind, it's a really nice model. It really is. I mean, I liked it anyway.
It's non-Legion specific.
Yeah. So, apparently he did say, because I was talking to him about his brief basically, and he said he had a name. So whether we get down the line rules for him.
And we get a special character out of it.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, that's a lovely model. I haven't opened my Crusade book yet. I hadn't had time to do that, unfortunately. But I'll be doing that tomorrow when I get some peace and quiet.
Definitely.
Yeah, so
they were the things that the pre-release items that you could be bought at Forge World. I take it there was no pre-release of any GW items.
No, they don't do that.
I know. I didn't think they did, but I just thought, with this new world that we're entering, I thought, I just wonder if. Yeah,
not there yet. They're still experimenting with putting information out early. So putting actual stuff out early is maybe a step too far to really be worrying about yet. Black Library didn't have anything. It was a bit of a surprise.
Did Black Library have a big presence there?
No, there was a big table of books, as there usually is. That was about it. All the Beast of Rises books were there, because apparently it's really doing very well, which is good, because I love the Beast of Rises. It's a cracking series of books. There wasn't, all your heresy books as normal, the kind of things you'd expect without, like, we were hoping maybe that Angels of Caliban was going to be available, but it wasn't. Yeah, fair enough. It's okay, whatever, frankly. But
we can deal with it.
I've got my copy of Guilliman, the super special edition that you pay extra for. It's a fantastic. So this is the first of the Primarch novels, the 18 Primarch novels.
Yeah.
someone did ask the question, are we going to get 2 for the Lost Legion? There's a few sighs. The answer was quite good. 18 Primarch novels. Tells you all you need to know.
No,
But,
now sit down.
Yeah, I got my Gollum, and I haven't had time to, apart from stare at it. It's a gorgeous book. It really is. So I'm stuck into collecting all them.
Yeah, you've started that now.
Yeah. Don't worry about the cost. We'll think about that. We'll talk about the other books like coming up because I went to the Black Library seminar, and then GW was, as I say, you could go and play a very brief kind of loose intro into the Silver Tower, and they had all the models all over the shop. Amazing models. So I think
they are quite special.
I think it's worth talking about as well because, yeah, it's Age of Sigmar. Yeah, the heroes are all Sigmar heroes and blah blah blah, and all the different elves and all that jazz. But the bad guys are Tzeentch.
Mm-hmm.
This is essentially the Silver Tower is part of Tzeentch's realm, and the heroes are stuck there, and they've got to fight their way through it. And it looks to be a very fun, very easy to learn, modern board quest game, which is great, with loads of potential to expand and move on. Wonderful. And in this, you get a Gaunt Summoner who's an Age of Sigmar model, but you get a lot of Zangors, which are Tzeentch beastmen.
Yeah.
Which look amazing.
Absolutely amazing.
Amazing. And then you get some other weirder Tzeentch things. Then you get some like goblins that have been Tzeentched. So they got extra limbs and things. And then you get pink horrors.
Mm-hmm.
When you kill pink horrors, you put 2 blue horrors down.
Yeah.
And then when you kill blue horrors, you put, what did they call them? Other little horrors down, which were even smaller. There's 2 on one base.
Wasn't there one with a fish with legs?
It's essentially a bit like that, yeah.
Yeah.
I think they're like, I can't remember what he called them, what types of horrors they were. That was like, oh wow, there's new horrors and stuff as well. But if you wanted to, and it would cost you a lot of money, those beastmen would fit into a warp cult list.
That's exactly my thoughts.
Yeah, it might cost a fair amount of money to do it that way. Whether moving down the line we get to see something like that bleed into Age of Sigmar, potentially, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
No idea. But the models are fantastic. The actual design of the tiles and all that is fantastic as well. Really good. You could potentially use that in games if you want. Yeah, there's some really cool stuff going on with that.
I must admit, I looked at those models and instantly I was thinking of warp cults and all sorts of weird and wonderful things that you could do with them, and especially thinking of the Thousand Suns and all the cool weird stuff you could do with them.
Yeah, definitely. There's possibilities to use bits and pieces within that. There's no doubt about that.
If you're looking for those familiars that you wanted to try and put near Thousand Suns character.
Absolutely. And
some of those models would be absolutely brilliant for that, especially the little gribbly ones.
Yeah, I'm going to be ordering mine through Element tomorrow. So, yeah, more money. Put it on the credit. Put it on the credit card.
I did think to myself today, when I was looking at all the Silver Tower bits, I just thought to myself that they've ramped up production so much at Games Workshop that if I really was into lots of the different types, I just don't think anyone could afford to keep up with it.
Well, I was having conversations with various people, some of the White Dwarf crew of old and things like that, and I was like, I kind of wish I didn't buy Deathwatch now, because it's like, okay, that's always hanging in I bought that and I bought this, and what's coming next? And although Deathwatch is cool, the models are amazing and I want to play it more, I'm like, what's next?
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I do think there's just so much, they're churning out so much good stuff. I'm actually a little bit, I'm glad in some ways that I do focus on the Heresy.
Yeah, Lost Patrol, although it's only a cheap price tag, I've seen playthroughs from it. There's a brilliant YouTube channel called Watch It Played, who does, they literally do, they show you how games are played they don't review them; they play them through them with you, kind of thing. And he played a couple of live games of that, and apparently it's extremely difficult for the Space Marines to win and stuff. But I was actually quite glad to watch it and go, "Yep, cool. I appreciate that game and what it is, but I'm not going to play that. Fine, don't have to worry about that."
Yeah,
it's quite a relief.
Something off the list.
So, whew. But yeah, who knows if we're going to get this? There's more and more rumours at the moment about the Betrayal at Calth sequel. I'm not going to get into those rumours, but if we get another box like that, well, I'm going to be getting that.
Yeah,
because it's going to be able to be useful for Heresy. So might have to be a bit more canny. Having had a love of Warhammer Quest, I know that this game will get played at the club, which makes me think, yeah, we can get that. It'll be good. And in fact, Pete doesn't really play as much wargaming, moved away from GW's style of gaming, has said that, look, if we can guarantee playing it, he's going to go out and buy a character for 23 quid or whatever, which is something he's pretty against, just to play with us, specifically to do it. So, because the beauty of it is that, I didn't say this, they're releasing an app at the same time. So next week this app goes live and it has rules for just loads of other characters that you can then insert into the game.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can go, and basically anyone with a scan code on the blister, which I can only presume they're just going to put it on the characters that come out, you can buy those heroes and get the rules for them to use them in-game.
So you can literally, they're opening up their range.
Yeah, massively.
With Warhammer Quest, which is a fantastic idea.
Yeah. And I mean, you may wonder why I've talked about it so much, but I think it's indicative of the way that GW are moving. I think it's quite an important thing. But also, I loved Warhammer Quest. And I think there are
so many people that I talk to when I talk to them about the hobby, like people that are muggles that don't play don't do it anymore, or and there's so many of them used to play Hero Quest or Warhammer Quest. Yeah,
these are gateway games, as well as we are of that era where these games were at their height when we were, teenagers and whatever, playing them. So, yeah, it was a big part of my secondary school was going around to a mate's on a Saturday playing Blood Bowl, playing Man of War, playing Hero Quest, Warhammer Quest, Necromunda, all those games. So, yeah, there's lots of cool stuff going on with that. But I think we can move on from the quest now for the people who aren't so interested.
Indeed, yeah.
Excellent. Should we go let's do the Black Library seminar.
Okay, so did you go to all the seminars?
No, I missed the Forge World one. I got my timings muddled up, and I was like, oh, rubbish. All the information will be online now. Fine, don't worry about it. Go and talk to people. So I missed that one. But I was going to go to the licensing one, but I didn't bother with that either. Again, meeting people, talking to people was great.
I mean, from memory, the seminars, were they virtually almost running all day? Was it a case that if you wanted to go to all the seminars, you almost had to come back on the Sunday to do all the other bits? Yeah,
definitely. Absolutely. And I must admit, the Black Library one, I almost missed. I turned up a minute before they started it. I was like, oops, oh, okay, cool, got in. And it was typical, it was a Black Library seminar where all but two of the questions and maybe 2 minutes of talk out of an hour was for the rest of that hour was heresy. There was nothing about normal Black Library books, as it were.
It's interesting because when I hear things like that, it always makes you think how popular the heresy is. Versus the other systems, but as we've discussed in the past, that the other systems are
not necessarily
more money makers.
That is, yeah, but the fluff of the heresy is 40k as well, so that is an important part of it. The Beast Arises did get a lot of mentions within that aspect, because it is doing so well as well. But we got Jim Swallow, John French, Chris Raitt, and Gav Thorpe were there, talking about the stuff they'd done, the stuff they're doing as well. And it was the usual kind of thing. So normal kind of questions and answers. As I say, we got the Lost Primarchs question. Unfortunately, that happens. We got the usual questions about who's going to write the end book of the Heresy, who's going to write the Battle of Terror, which there was Laurie did mention actually the huge output at the moment from GW means that the editorial team are like really pushing themselves hard just to keep up, to be able to edit all the books as they're coming out. Because someone did suggest that all the Heresy writers could have a go at writing the last book and they could pick their favourite. It's just like, whoa, how much work's that? And I'm like,
and also how, a writer writing a book, how many books do they write a year? And then they find out that actually their version wasn't picked.
It was a joking comment, but my reply was just release all 19 then. Because you'd make the money. But yeah, they're things, but they're getting to that point where they're thinking about those kind of things now. I just finished Path to Heaven. I'm not going to spoil anything in that except to say it's amazing. Chris Raitt is solidifying himself as my favourite Black Library author. He pretty much can do no wrong, or he has done no wrong so far. Absolutely smashing it out of the park. He was talking about that. Gav was talking a little bit about what comes up in Angels of Caliban, which is essentially what you think is going to happen in Angels of Caliban. You find out what happens on Caliban. You find out what happens between the Lion and Kurz. And then Jim was talking little bits about Garrow, as usual, which is cool. But we got to see some pictures as well of what is upcoming. So we know we got Angels of Caliban. That's been talked about a fair bit. Mm-hmm. That is out end of June.
Okay.
So that's coming round fairly quick, really.
Yeah, that won't be very long till that's out at all.
No, bearing in mind that it wasn't long ago the Path to Heaven was out. So, when they warned you about things going quickly, they're going quickly.
Yeah.
We have the cover of Praetorian of Dawn. So this is by John French. This is out in August, according to information I got on Twitter. End of August, I think. And the cover is Dawn wielding his massive chainsword against, look, is that an Alpha Legion who's the same height as Dawn? Yeah, that might be Alfarius. The story behind this is the Alpha Legion knew that they were going to turn traitor way before Isfahan. So what would a sneaky Legion do? Well, they'd plant people in the Sol system already, raring to go. And this is the story of that, and we get to see Dawn actually going and kicking face, which we haven't seen yet, except for Garrow. Which doesn't serve Dawn in the best light. So that's John French, and again, I love John French's writing. So that's going to be awesome sauce, and another brilliant picture by Mr. Neil Roberts.
The pictures that I saw on Twitter of Neil Roberts' work are amazing.
I think the next one's my favourite. So we've got, at some point, Echoes of the Imperium. So this is a collection of shorts, and the front cover is Sanguinius sat, legs splayed, in a throne, kind of brooding.
It's an amazing picture.
Chin on fist, yeah. He's either trying to remember where he left his credit card. Yeah, exactly. Or he's just, because he's got his sword point down on the floor and he's holding it. And Laurie was like, I just imagined him, he's just trying to move it ever so slightly so he can shine light in someone's eye. But yeah, it's a fantastic picture.
Oh, it's amazing. I do think Neil Roberts' work it just gets better every time he does something.
It's phenomenal. It is absolutely phenomenal. Who knows what stories are going to go in there, because if it's Echoes of the Imperium that suggests it's stories around Imperium Secundus, we haven't had that many of those stories come out already, so there might be new stuff in there, which would be interesting, because most of the previous few anthologies we've had have been all collected stuff. Who knows? Who knows? We've got Corax, so that's Corax jumping out of a Storm Eagle or whatever it is.
I thought it was a Thunderhawk.
Thunderhawk, probably. Who knows? Doesn't look big enough. But anyway, jumping out of a spaceship, and there's a Stormbird in the background, looking Coraxy, and this is.
No, what I liked about this was the picture very much fits the model.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Because you know when everyone was going mad about, his hair is going, no, I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's like, well, now we've drawn you a picture like that, that the model was like.
Yeah. So this is an interesting one in that it's going to utilise the 2 Corax limited edition novellas into one story, which is quite cool. So it's going to kind of look at what Corax is up to. You know, we don't really know what he does now till the end of the Heresy. So it's going to look at that going forwards, which is an interesting theory. And then we had The Either. So this is a story from Meduson, which is being turned into an audio drama.
Ooh.
So, yeah, and that's pretty cool. If you've read that story, you know what that's about. And then the final picture we got was Lehman Russ, the Great Wolf, and this is the cover from the Primarch series, which is Russ and a load of dudes wandering around with his 2 mystical wolves, looking amazing and having no beard. More on that later.
Yeah, no beard. More on that later.
Indeed. So that's that, which is really cool as well. So we've got, these are all, they're all Heresy because the Primarch stories are considered part of the Heresy. And, new titles with new stuff, which is very good. And then the final one where the picture hasn't been done yet was Jim's working on a Garrow story, which, no, I think the original idea was to collect the stories into one, collect all the Garrow audio into one interwoven story. What it's become is Garrow is at a point where he's kind of, how to describe it? He's reflecting on where he is, trying to work out exactly where he stands in the nature of things, because we still don't know exactly we know the end goal of the Sigillite, but we don't know kind of the steps he's taking to get there, what's going on exactly. And Garrow's in the middle of this, and it's him working out where his place is. So it's going to be a retroactive kind of reconstruction of looking back over what he's been tasked with in a story. Ooh. So it's going to cover all the audio. So
it's a flashback episode.
Essentially, yeah, but slightly better done than that, I would think. So yeah, he's going to be reviewing. So it's not going to be like, because some of those stories were audio dramas and things like that. So you can't just put them into prose and make it work. They need to be rewritten anyway. But also, some of those stories have flashbacks in them because they were released before the event which actually happened beforehand. So the chronology of release is different to the chronology of events.
Yes.
So there were issues with that. So he's had to write as if he's reflecting or looking or reconstructing and all those kind of things. So I'm sure it's going to work. He said it was an interesting kind of thing to do. But one other thing that allows him to do is, particularly for the audio, they have to be a certain length. And he had to cut stuff up out those stories, scenes out those stories, which he can now put back in. Because he's not just repeating the story.
Yes.
He's telling the story in a different way. So that's a really interesting piece, because, you just don't think you're going to get that story in a different way with Garrow.
That's quite exciting, isn't it, really?
It is very, very cool.
It's worth rereading it or reading it all just as much. It's like seeing the deleted episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. And seeing those deleted episodes from a slightly different viewpoint.
Yeah.
Because he didn't know, say, what was going on when he was sent to Isfahan. No spoilers. But when looking back on it, he may have a different kind of approach to why he was sent there and whether it was worth it and all those kind of things. Mm-hmm. Who knows? So that I'm going to look forward to that big time, I must admit. So yeah, we have that, most of those stories, I think, are going to be this year, I think. Certainly, let's say Praetorian of Dawn is August. Angels of Caliban is end of June. They said they were giving us a year of heresy.
Yeah, they did.
We're getting a year of heresy. It's pretty awesome. There was confirmation that Master of Mankind is being written, and Crimson King is being written, and Graham is working on some other heresy as well, which is cool. What else was that? Oh yes, someone asked a question about Sharakin. He will be appearing again. There is stories about Sharakin. That's what we were told. So obviously that's a little bit further down the line.
Excellent.
But we are certainly moving in, for those who've read, I won't say that actually because that's a bit of a spoiler, but we're certainly moving towards, all the pieces are being set up for the final arc.
Right, so they're sort of teeing everything up at the moment.
Yeah, there are certain people we've pretty much got in place now, ready for the final arc. There are some that need to be kind of just, we know they've got that one more story before they need to get there, things like that. Like Mortarian's a classic, Mortarian where he is now, Mortarian at Terror are two different people. And that's started to be handled in things like the short that Chris Ray wrote, Demonology, things like that. So we know they're being worked on, they're coming along. But, still plenty, and we're in that era now where we don't know the stories. Up until, like, the final acts or elements of the Battle of Terror, we don't really know what happens to most of the characters. Which is
quite good in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's giving them a lot more free reign now to fill in the gaps how they want to.
And when we say final act, so Graham apparently is writing some kind of story that might be a short. Master of Mankind, will that fit in as leading up to the final act, or will that be part of the final act now? No idea. We've still got another Salamanders novel we need. We've still got to get, Imperium Secundus needs to break up. There are still plenty of stories to be told, which is quite interesting.
Which is good, though. It's still a bit of life left in it yet.
Oh yeah, big time. And that's before you get to Terror and how they're going to handle Terror.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a big section to handle, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. So that was the Black Library seminar. There were some other bits and pieces of information. As I say, I wasn't taking notes in quite the same way. And in fact, people like Battle Bunnies and Garrow from the 30k forum, who's also got a Facebook page under Garrow, has been kind of collecting information, and Miles, a Lil Legend, and a few others as well. People sharing this information is all great as well, which is really cool.
It's quite nice. I couldn't be there today, and it was quite nice just to pop on Twitter and see what was coming up and people putting pictures up and stuff. It is very handy if you can't make an event.
Yeah, it's definitely something. The one issue I have with that event is I really struggle to get any kind of reception through most of the places.
The Rico Arena is really bad for reception.
So I gave up. Unfortunately, I just couldn't tweet too much, so I didn't get anywhere near the information I normally would out, which is just a big shame. But I tried. Cool. Let me just think how we'll do this. We'll do the upstairs, so GW areas. So you had all the staff armies, which are really cool. The gentleman who sculpted the big Orruk, the beast, with the Orruk riding him for Age of Sigmar, which is an amazing model. I think he might be newish. I'm not 100% sure. But he had some amazing Nurgle conversions, staff army-wise. I'll try and get the pictures. I've seen them floating around Twitter. Phenomenal stuff. It's just like, if I was doing a Nurgle army, I'd be borrowing so much more. It's crazy stuff. Yeah, so cool. So there's some really awesome armies in there. The display teams from who do all the design hall studio area, they're they were there with their mock-ups of some of the tables and things like that, but also they had a small-scale representation of a new Age of Sigmar table they're going to be building in the first room, which is quite cool. It's like, oh wow, this 8 foot by 12 foot long, 8 foot high thing, and this is just going in the first room. It's like, wow, these guys are kind of pushing it every step.
Definitely. I mean, that's one hell of a job, isn't it?
Yeah. So
you've got to blow people's socks off every time.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what they continue to do. Because it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what game system it is. You can go in and get inspired by, storming a fort or something like that, and the way they're doing everything is phenomenal. And then we had all the designers down there with their models out, which is always good. As I said earlier, the heavy metal team looking at all their stuff, and I can't talk to them much about techniques and stuff because it's not stuff I do, but you can still just appreciate it. And the enthusiasm is a big thing. Really is a big thing. And that was all upstairs, and I didn't really do any of the demo pods. I still find that unless you're at the front, I struggle to hear.
Yeah, definitely what they're saying is sometimes more important than seeing what they're doing, and it can be difficult.
Yeah, and I think that's an issue that they're always going to have. I don't think there's a better way to handle it. But there seem to be enough people at all of them to kind of enjoy it, which is cool. You can see Duncan's hands in real life rather than on YouTube's, which is quite cool. But that upstairs was great. And one thing is about this event, even though it was busy, those areas are still much less crowded than they would be at an old games day. Yeah,
they've definitely changed the format, haven't they? And I think for the better.
And that just helps make everything relaxed. Like we were talking about the Heresy this year, the Weekender didn't seem so relaxed. And it was probably because there was an extra 50 odd people there.
Yeah.
It does make a difference. Really does. But that was cool. And then downstairs we had all the computer games. Didn't really get too involved in that because don't think my PC can play most of them.
Your PC can't record a podcast.
No, it struggles at times, bless it. But there's a lot of games. You suddenly realise actually how many games are there, and they had a big sale on this weekend. So if you're listening to this, the day it's released, there's like a massive sale on Apple for anything Games Workshop, pretty much. It's something they got together with, and they have to provide so many titles and make it look worth it. And then, you can go and buy like the quiz app for 50%, I think, which is awesome. Again, you're getting knockdown prices on stuff.
Yeah.
It's like,
and if you're into the games, the apps, it's worth doing.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of the games, and it's like I am seriously considering upgrading so I can play Total War, so I can play Battlefleet Gothic, and it won't be long before we get more Heresy-based stuff as well.
I'm looking forward to see what they do with more Heresy.
Yeah.
Bits and pieces on the game side.
Well, looking at some of the other stuff that's coming, there could be big tie-ins with some of the stuff that like specialists are working on, things like that. So the gaming bit was cool. It was quite packed as well. There's a lot of people playing games, which is always groovy. Excuse me. Moving on to the Forge World stuff, I suppose.
Yes, because this is where we see all of the pre-release, don't we, or the stuff that's about to come out.
We'll cover that in a minute. Just want to talk Specialist and Lord of the Rings, and then we'll take a break. So Lord of the Rings was there with some. They did. If you've seen Battle for the Five Armies, Billy Connolly's guy on the ball, they got that on the goat. Sorry, they've got that model.
Now,
awesome.
I personally think that since Forge World seems to have taken over the Hobbit or the Lord of the Rings, those models I saw on Twitter today, so I didn't see them in real life, but they just look a lot better.
Well, I think
I don't know if that's just me being biased.
The old Lord of the Rings models had to be okayed by New Line Cinema.
Yeah.
I don't know what the situation is now, but maybe they don't. But maybe the resin helps.
Maybe because they can get that extra level of detail into it.
But the biggest thing for me is they've got a Lake Town set of terrain, which is all plastic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've got a picture of a house and some boards and things like
Yes,
that.
I think I saw that on your Twitter.
And the quality is amazing, and it's plastic, and it's going to be coming out. And it's like, oh, this could be brilliant moving forward. So we start to think of other places you can use it. It was really good. Really good. And I've never played really, well, I have played Lord of the Rings, but I've never been kind of regularly played it or anything like that, and I don't think I will, but it was just interesting to see what they're up to as much as anything else and comparing it across.
Indeed,
really, very cool. And then next to them were specialist games with Blood Bowl, and Andy's doing a great job heading that up by the looks of it, because the miniatures are looking amazing, the boards looking amazing, and the little plastic rulers and tokens are looking amazing. Some of the designs are looking awesome. And that's going to be out ready for next year is Blood Bowl's 30th anniversary, which is why it was pushed to come out first. And apparently, the whole reason there's now a specialist in Lord of the Rings and everything is because they wanted to jump on the 30th anniversary, but to do it properly, they realised that to do anything with Blood Bowl, they would have to create a division to work on it. And if they're going to do that, then all of a sudden specialist games appeared. And it was like, okay, so maybe we can bring other things back as well. Which is awesome. You know, it's a little thing that sparks it off.
Sparks it off. It's amazing, because I think specialist games are going to be so big. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of love for the things they've done. And in fact, when you look at, they had a big poster there. Actually, that's something I need to talk about in the sales bit. A big poster there for Adeptus Titanicus, the Horus Heresy. So this is 8mm, new size, but they reckon it was like the best size to be able to do what they wanted to and keep it the detail of like Warlords and Reavers and things, and then in a box for the Titans, and then expanding that to have infantry, tanks, flyers, whatever, moving onwards. So it's coming.
Wow.
Heresy, loads of heresy. It's going to be amazing.
We love a bit of heresy.
Yeah, and that I say that's something I needed to talk about earlier, because that was on one of those big hanging things that they put the colour plates on. You know, normally you'd have the colour plates. We were queuing up for the Forge World, and this woman came over and said, "Oh, by the way, guys, there's 45 of these banners we've got in this book here. You can order one, any one of the ones you want here, and it'll get posted to home. So you don't have to carry around a tube. All day. You don't have to worry about it not being available. We'll just print to order." Whether this moves into being available normally or just at events, we don't know.
Well, I was a little bit disappointed, actually, that I heard that on the...
Because you were a special snowflake.
Yes, because I've got loads of them, and I always was under the impression, and I swear someone told me this, that they were one-offs. So once they printed one, there wasn't going to be any more.
Maybe your one is.
Yeah. My 3.
Yeah, maybe your 3 are never going to be done again. But for all those people who used to race down that thing to try and get them, they can all, because it was always like 1 or 2 of them that were the big favourites.
Yeah,
so,
there was always that.
But yeah, I just wanted to get that out there as well. I thought that was important. But yeah, Blood Bowl looks amazing. Adeptus Titanicus is looking pretty awesome, and the team they've got working there as well seem to be really nailed on. It's James, the game designer guy that's moved over. He worked on Silver Tower, he worked on Betrayal at Calth, and he's done other things for other companies as well. It's like, actually, I kind of trust him to be able to do what he does, and I trust Andy to do what he does, and all the other guys there as well. It's looking good.
Yes, indeed, definitely is.
Cool, we'll have a quick break, and we'll come back and talk more Forge World Heresy. Okay, moving into all the Heresy Forge World stuff. So we'll start with stuff from the seminar. Now, I'm going to lean heavily on the Battle Bunnies photos here. So, they're great. They do what I can't do, which is absolutely nail the reporting on these things. There's a few of them doing it, which does help.
You can always tell, can't you, at an event, you go to one of these seminars and there's a little group of people right by the screen.
They were
prepped and ready.
So we got there. We thought it was, for some reason, my mate said it was open at 9, and I was like, "Are you sure? I think it's 10." And we got there at 8:30, and we were like, 15, 20th in the queue, if that. And they were the ones right at the front. It's like fair play. It's cool. I'm quite glad we got there that early in the end, but yeah, it's all good. So yes, I'm borrowing off their photos just because they're in a cohesive kind of format, and it's a lot easier. But we've got a Moritat with pistols.
Yeah, and 3D designed by the looks of it.
Yes, with a couple of different pistols as well, which is cool.
And jump pack and standard backpack variant.
Yeah, it's a sweet model. It really is a sweet model.
It is. It's really cool. I didn't think they'd do one. I suppose that's really pretty silly because they do one of everything pretty much, don't they?
Carrying around his own rock.
Yeah.
But to be honest, though, if you don't want that rock, that's easy enough to shove something else under there.
Oh, yeah.
I think. But yeah, it's a sweet model. And it's good to get a few variants of, like, the generic characters that can have loads of different upgrades. It's good to have a number of different types.
And what's nice about this, I've been looking at a lot of people doing really cool conversions of late.
Yeah.
And this is just another cool body to do a conversion on.
Yeah, exactly. You can play around with that so much to do all kinds of different stuff, which is exactly what you want, really. You can use it as it is, or you could play around with it, which is great for both people. Moving on, the Mechanicum Macrocaride Explorator. This looks to be a little bit chunkier and bigger than first thought. It's a bit of a beast.
Yes, yeah. I said to you earlier that I think it looks a bit squatty.
Yeah, it does have a kind of old school.
Got that sort of feel about it.
Yeah, I think the fact it's all contained within the side length of the tracks and things like that. But that looks phenomenal. I really like that. I'm going to have to sort... And it's got proper... Like, the tank tracks on it are, like, proper... not tracks, almost, like a belt. Slightly different.
Yeah, I'm actually trying to pick it up on my computer because I looked at it on Twitter.
Sure.
And sometimes, even though I do love Twitter because it's so instant, I could just pull my phone out and have a look at something. It's sometimes not actually that easy to see the detail.
No, yeah, definitely. But yeah, it looks fantastic. It's not helping me try and get on with my wolves, looking at more Mechanicum stuff. But
I know, yeah.
That is the nature of the beast. Okay, we saw at the Weekender. It's quite funny to look at this now, but they had the Porphyrion, the new knight form.
Yes.
And the original concept of this was the height of a Cerastus once its little rocket launcher was exposed, and it was like, oh, that's awesome. That fits between the two knights. That's amazing. Well, they had this there. And I think you see the picture and you think, okay, it's never going to be as big as the picture that they show in the thing. And then you look at it in the cabinet, and it's pretty much the size of a Warhound Titan.
So, was this not meant to be a middling size version?
Well, that's it. So the original kind of mock-up was between the size of the normal knights and the Cerastus frame. Somewhere along the line, they upscaled this big time, so it's not going to use the plastic knight base. It's its own model. I wonder if they kind of decided to keep some of the rules, but felt it needed to be enhanced to be able to fit those rules.
Possibly, because the rules for it were amazing, weren't they?
Yeah, and the points level was just ridiculous. This thing is huge. It's huge.
So maybe it's more like a mini Titan, are we saying?
It's just below a Warhound Titan in terms of size. So therefore, potentially, people are guessing at price, but maybe nearer the 250 quid mark. It's a beast. It is an absolute beast, and I want one. Again, whether I'm going to get one or not, that's a whole different story.
Yes. The two things are often there.
Yeah, exactly. It was always kind of like, can I justify having a Warhound? And it's like, well, if I can't justify having a Warhound, can I justify this? Who knows?
Yeah, I think for me, it does depend on usability as well, and it depends where it would fit within your Mechanicum or whatever you have, really.
Yeah, or your Knight Army. I think there was some size comparisons between that and the new Super Duper Tau battlesuit. But obviously this Porphyrion is a lot bulkier. A lot bulkier. Well, yeah, at the top end particularly. But it does look fantastic. So just looking at the little version between the two, it's like, oh, he got a lot bigger. It's more tighter than Knight. But yeah, we also got some really small pieces, but are probably mega for people, particularly people who converters. So, Emperor's Children Legion Phoenix Power Spears.
Yes.
So this is literally the hands and the spears. Or, in some cases, the forearm and the spears, where it's being held in two hands. Some of them being held in one hand with the loose hand. So actually, this is the first set where you've got an open hand by itself because of the way the weapons are done now.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is like someone's turned around and said that'll be really useful for me, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, but you're going to need 10 of them. That's going to get expensive quick.
Definitely.
But these are great. These are really cool. This is going to stop people having to like search and hunt for specific models.
Yeah, I had the same thing, and it's one you'll come on to next, no doubt, is the chain glaive for the Night Lords.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hunting down a Sevatar's chain glaive to stick on a character is a real nuisance, and now not so much of a problem.
No, too right. And the other one is Legion Power Scythes. And the beauty of them is, it is just either the hands or the forearms. So it all upgrades with all the plastics, but the resins as well. It means you're not spending a lot of money to get them. And if you just want one for a thing, you can go buy an upgrade pack and get 5. And it's not out of the realms of possibility, is it? So it's really good to see that, as far as I'm concerned.
That was another thing. We've said it many times before, how Forge World are very good at making sure they've covered all the options that they give you. And that's another one that they've...
Let's just hope that, we're still waiting for the Mechanicum. A lot of those options just aren't there.
There's so many options, isn't there?
There are a lot. But, I think even if you put them out and increase the price, people would just do it because it saves so much hassle when you can do it. The other type of this was the Ultramarines Legion boarding shields. So you can do your suzerain if you want. And with the little cutout for their gladiuses to go through as well, which is amazing. It's, a
nice touch.
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, it's, when you talk about filling up gaps, if they can do a bit more of this, then it just stops kind of the frustration you have. It's like, oh, what do I do? How do I do this? It's like, well, here's the easy way.
Yeah.
But it's cool. The Secretary Hoplites, so these are the guys, that run around with the Knights and Titans and stuff. These guys' shields and power thingies, and they're awesome. And these are going to jump onto the 40k Mechanicum set again. Awesome.
Yes, very cool.
Just making it really easy for you. It's worth noting that the next Imperial Armor book they're working on for 40k is going to have the rules to bring in. There's one of the pictures of it is the Thanatar in 40k. So there's going to be rules on integrating Mechanicum into 40k.
Ooh. Which
is really cool. Again, it's easy to make. it was easy for 40k players to pick up Legion stuff, but some of the Mechanicum, it was why can't use it. Gives them an excuse to use it, and again crosses those streams a little bit more, makes it easier for people to get there into 30k, which is groovy. And then we had the Horus Heresy Age of Darkness Army List Special Edition. So there's going to be the red version, normal, and then the big black version.
Ooh.
Don't really know price on that one, but I'll probably get that one.
I would have thought so. If you've got a set of black books, you're going to want to.
Yeah, but I haven't got the Isfan or the the other Legion one. That's only in red. But who knows? Worry about that later.
Yeah.
What is it? But yeah, so we're going to get all those upgrades, and yeah, fingers crossed that's going to be out, as I said, before late July, latest, with a bit of hope, a bit before that. But we shall see. It's going to be good to see exactly the details again. I think there's a lot of speculation still about what actually is going to come out of that book in terms of changes and things like that.
Mm-hmm. That's the big thing, isn't it? It's a chance for them to revisit things.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty for them to be getting on with. And one of the final things, I don't think I'm missing anything, one of the final things was the decal sheets and bits of artwork for Prospero. So the Thousand Suns and the Space Wolves. Really, really pretty. I was talking to Holly a little bit about those. Some phenomenal stuff. The kind of, I think she said, you can tell there's pressure on her to get it right, and all of them with regards to the Space Wolves and the Thousand Suns. And she was looking at the models that they've already got painted, trying to get the bronze on the Space Wolf stuff to match the kind of bronze that has been used on those kind of test models, as it were. Trying to make sure that the feel of the 30k was there. So yes, they've got the Ragnar type wolf head, but this one's less kind of square. It's more rounded, organic.
Yes, yeah.
So it feels different. And then lots of Celtic knotwork and stuff on there. And some awesome wolf heads on like round shields, and yeah, looking absolutely fantastic. And then the Thousand Suns with Anubis heads and scarabs and all the stuff you'd expect, really. Just starting to get the little glimpse now of what we're going to see in Prospero. And it's pretty exciting.
Yes, no, definitely.
It's a case of I think we'll start to maybe see a little bit more in maybe a few months. But
and the other decals, the decals they've done as well have been quite. They've been to a very high standard, haven't they? And I do think they're pushing it a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of work going into that. They know how kind of important they are for some people, and they need to kind of get it right, and they are absolutely brilliantly right.
Never enough of one type, though, is there? You always get a sheet and go, I need two more of that one.
It's always going to be. It doesn't matter what they do with that. That will always be the issue. One other thing they did show was the Mastodon. Now, this was actually in the thing with a price as well in the booklet. So the Mastodon is 300 notes. Which isn't a bad price, really.
I thought that was actually, that's about right or slightly cheaper than I thought it might be.
Yeah, it's a big piece of kit. They seem to have solved the issue. Because we didn't mention the Stormbird was available either.
No.
So, yeah, the Mastodon, they seem to have solved the issue with the Mastodon. They're hoping. So that hopefully will be on sale soon at 300 quid, which is awesome.
Bargain.
The Stormbird was there in very little. I think they had 3 available at the weekend.
I bet they sold out in the first 5 minutes.
Yeah. £750.
Yeah, pricey, but then again, it's a big kit.
It's a big kit. And I think once you get to that point, does it really matter if it's £750 or £650?
Yeah, I think if you're going to be buying something like that, you've got your wallet out ready.
Yeah, it is a massive piece of kit. I think there was a big box being moved early on, and we think it was a Stormbird, someone walking off with one of them. And they had the Knight, the Warlord, the other pattern, the Warlord bits as well. Whether they sold any Warlords, I don't know. I'm sure someone bought one of them today as well. wouldn't surprise me. So it's good to see. We've got, once the Mastodon comes out, that's most of the stuff we saw from the Heresy Weekender, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
It's surprising because I keep thinking back that we didn't see that much, but it's amazing how much we did see.
Yeah. Yes, we're pushing on. So this is our next event, so we're looking at those bits, looking forwards. And I did hear whispers that we would be seeing more progress pictures. We have a Primarch, Mr. Lehman Russ, more progress pictures, which didn't show a huge amount, to be fair.
I don't know, it showed a lot of detail, because I think the ones we saw at Weekender were very, very early on, weren't they?
Yeah, he's pretty much done. I was talking to Sam, and he said, halfway through they had some changes of what they were going to do, how they were going to do things. The armour's pretty detailed. The wolf head backpack, kind of the classic thing that's been done. Yeah, the sword's looking amazing. The interesting thing is the reaction to the face and the head. So this is a Primarch with long hair in full motion. Mm-hmm. We've seen 2 other Primarchs that have got long hair and have been in full motion. So Angron doesn't have long hair, Ferrus doesn't have long hair. So we've got Corax and Fulgrim. Mm-hmm. And Corax is falling down, so his hair's strung out above him as he's falling. And Fulgrim's dancing, or whatever Fulgrim's doing, and yelling. And that face is deemed to be not great in terms of what they've done with it, maybe. Russ is running forwards and yelling. So his hair is going behind him and he's got the yelling face. And I think that's why he's being compared to those 2 Primarchs. Because at the end of the day, I don't think it looks that similar to those 2 Primarchs.
It's difficult to say without actually seeing it in real life, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I do think that if a sculptor, so Sam sculpted those other sculpts that you mentioned, when you're sculpting something, sculpt a face. All right, there's a face. Sculpt another face. All right, and then you're going to get to a stage of, I'm just going to keep recycling what I know, what I think looks right.
I actually think the face does look different. I think if you look at it, it's a bit fuller and things like that, and it's a slightly different pose. The hair, when you've got long hair, that's what's going to happen to it when you're running full pelt, swinging round and that kind of thing. It's almost like, do you want it realistic or do you want it to look how you want it to look? And I think some people are like, actually, they would prefer it not to be realistic, but the whole point is to have the models realistic as you possibly can with a, genetically enhanced, super vat-grown, whatever. But I think, again, see it painted, everything else, as far as I'm concerned, it's looking amazing. Yeah, a full action pose of Russ here is just awesome.
Yeah, I think if he'd been standing there stroking his wolves, everyone would have got probably really angry. Big
time. The other issue that has been noted a lot, and I promised that we would cover this, is facial hair. So
where's his beard?
Yeah, a number of people. The kind of first response on a lot of places was, "Where's his beard?" Well, I will say first off, Sam said he had put a beard on him, and they'd tried 2 or 3 different types of beard. The problem with a beard is it covers the face. So when you're trying to get expression along a jawline, along the mouth and everything else, as soon as you put a beard there, you lose elements of that expression on a model that size.
Yeah.
And they just couldn't get one to work. Well, my first thought was, well, he doesn't have a beard. We've seen the artwork on Prospero Burns and the new Russ book and wherever, no beard. The descriptions of him, no beard. The old Lehman Russ model from donkeys years ago, which is, dated, I think is the term. No beard. So why do people think there's a beard? Pete came up with a theory that he's a space wolf and lots of space wolves have beards. I'm like, maybe.
I heard someone saying that there was a really old piece of fluff or an old story that where he said he had a beard.
Okay, so one story years ago. Yeah, okay.
And he'd never have a shave.
Exactly. So that's, yeah, maybe. The other thing is I think people automatically think Viking. And then, although not all Vikings had beards, they then think Viking have beards. Sam said one of the major things with him was to try and, he is that archetype, that stereotype of the feral king. So you've got to try and get that regalness, but also that feralness, and not try and go too far one way or the other. And I actually think if you put a beard on him, he just starts to fall into that stereotype too much.
Yeah.
I'm quite happy with it. And actually, the really big thing is, if you want to put a beard on him, you can put a beard on him. However, if you want to take a beard off of a model, that's a lot harder.
That is a lot harder.
So,
and to be honest, I don't really like painting beards.
That's fair enough. I do dry brush. But yeah, okay, you might say, well, I can't green stuff, but if you're taking a beard off a model, then you'd have to green stuff it as well. So this way, I think, is better. For me personally, I don't think of Russ with a beard because I haven't seen Russ with a beard. I haven't read Russ with a beard. But people are already talking about painting stubble on him. Cool. Yep, sculpt a beard on him. Cool. Part of me would love a Brian Blessed style beard on him. But, that's not Russ for me. This is Russ. Yeah. And the wolves are going to be there.
I think one of my comments was, we haven't seen his wolves yet. But then if you look at how early on that is in the sculpt, and I'm having a look at it now, you can see some of it is pretty much just blocked out still. Like some of the markings in the armour, I can imagine are going to be more intricate and things once he's finally done with them.
Yeah, maybe Sam said the wolves are I think he said the wolves are like kind of pretty much or there. What level of that? I did ask kind of. I think my question was, are we going to get a more of an Angron base than a Perturabo base? And the answer was yes. So maybe a scaling down of that base. He did say they'd learnt a lot over the last 2 or 3 Primarchs about different things. They're learning every time they do this. So we'll see. I did kind of ask what's next. Sam's not too
and you didn't get an answer, I take it?
No, it's still only one of them doing the Primarchs at the moment. Haven't quite progressed anyone else yet, but I'm sure it will happen soon. But yeah, no.
Well,
no
I think the problem they've got as well is they've shifted a load of sculptors over to the specialist games. So your experienced sculptors, who are you going to put in that place?
Yeah, and we said before that Israel, they talked about putting Israel up. Whether that happens or not, I don't know. But they've also employed new sculptors and writers themselves as well. So they're filling those spots.
Yeah,
so
but
now
you wouldn't hire a sculptor and say on the second day, right, we want you to sculpt one of the Primarchs.
But they have now got a sculptor who can do the other stuff, which can allow someone to do the Primarchs.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So they've got a point now where maybe they can shift people around. Who knows? Everyone's going to want their Primarch because, Dawn still hasn't got a model. Alfarius, yeah, it's one of those things. But we shall see. Russ, baby. The other thing, actually, the other interesting thing was this model's going to be ready probably before the book. So.
Oh, really?
Yes. Are we going to get him before the book? They don't know. However,
it could be like one of those releases where they, you buy the magazine and it's got a model attached to it. You buy the book and it comes with a Russ.
18 weeks. You get his left leg.
Yeah.
Hand.
Hard work Primarchs.
So
there we go, G-Dub. How to make some money.
Kind of Tony did his thing, which Tony does, which was like, apparently someone asked a question in the seminar, and it was like, well, if he was finished, would you want to buy him, or would you want to wait for the book? Obviously people would want to buy him. Forge World want
if you're
to...
Space Wolf player, you're just gonna buy them anyway, aren't you?
Exactly. Forge World they don't want to sit on sales. Well, there's no point in that. So I think there is a desire to get him out. Then the next question is, if you release him before the book, do you put his rules with him? Tricky question, because if you're selling a model but you can't use him, are people going to moan that you do that?
And then if you release the rules on the download, how useful is that really?
Well, yeah, but
most people will be saying, "Well, what about my Legion rules? And I want to use this, and and this rule refers to something. What does that refer to?"
Yeah, but you've still got rules to use Russ.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't be surprised if he's released beforehand, and there's a download for his rules. I wouldn't be surprised. I also wouldn't be surprised if that didn't happen. It's so kind of on the line. I would buy him as soon as he's released, with or without rules, because I'd want to get him made and stare at him for a while, trying to build up the courage to paint him.
Yeah, because quite frankly, that's a fantastic way. If you can buy the Primarch, get him painted, the rules come, right, I've got the rules, let's go and play some games.
Yeah.
Rather than, the rules are fantastic, but give me about 5 weeks while I glue him and paint him.
Yeah, and I was talking to Sam about it, and he said, well, I think he was going to work in those armies where you want to get up close, and I'm like, dude, he's the Primarch of my Legion. Doesn't matter what army I'm playing, I kind of want him.
Yeah.
It's like, if you have a Legion which you identify with, then you're going to get the Primarch.
Definitely.
It's as simple as that, and I will use him. And I will use him sometimes to my detriment, because he's the Primarch. That's why we get these models, because they're awesome. So there'll be an interesting one to see how Forge World handle that. Who knows? It was an interesting decision to go with Russ when they did, frankly.
I'm still thinking that was a strange choice.
Maybe they hadn't quite decided how to do Dawn or how to do Alfarius or something like that, and they had more of an idea with Russ. Who knows?
Tony Cottrell needed, wanted a nice big bonus at the end of the year, and he thought, well, if we get Russ done.
Yeah, absolutely. If we get Russ done and then sell loads of upgrade kits for 1,000 Suns and Space Wolves, it'd be amazing.
Then go and ask for your bonus.
Yeah, there's plenty to be sorted in there, and I can't wait. Just cannot wait for that. It's going to be amazing. And so hopefully we can move on from that to get some of the others done and speed it up.
Yeah, I think hopefully, like I said, they need the second sculpture on the Primarchs, because before we know it, we're going to be into trying to get second renditions of Primarchs.
Well,
and if people haven't got their first renditions.
Could you imagine? Oh, you've got 2 Horuses, and I haven't even got my Dawn yet. And it's like, well, yeah, Dawn didn't do anything. Just stood behind a wall. Here's your Dawn. Here's a wall. He's behind it. It's someone's going to have to be last. Everything else, as we always say, it's true though. Someone's going to have to be last. I think Sam said, I kind of asked, what next, and I think he really wants to do Sanguinius. The
problem is they're really then jumping really out of sequence, aren't they?
I'm not saying. This was not. We're doing Sanguinius.
No, yeah.
I think it was he's the one I really want to kind of get my hands on and get my grip on.
And I'll tell you what, Sam sculpting those wings and everything else that goes with them, they are going to be something else.
Wouldn't they just? Looking at that picture that Neil Roberts drew. Yeah, and then turning that into like an Angel of Wrath.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it'd just be amazing. absolutely amazing. So, yeah, there's cool stuff coming. I think that's about it for what was going on in terms of Forge World's previewing of beautiful, pretty resin models that are going to cost
the
me.
heads for the Titans, for the Knights?
Yeah, oh yes, the heads for the Knights. Yeah, so Mechanicum heads for Cerastus Knights. So if you want to do that, again, that's just a nice little touch.
Yeah, I saw that and thought that's good. It's a little bit more flavour.
Yeah.
If you've got a Knight army, at least you can have some things looking a little bit different.
Yeah, and if you've got a Mechanicum army, you can have them fit into your Mechanicum nice and even more kind of fitting, as it were, which is brilliant. So, again, it's just another option, isn't it? And I'm sure that actually didn't take a huge amount of time for them to do as well. So it's nice to get that out there. There was a bit of 40k stuff as well. You know, let's not forget this is not a heresy event.
It's amazing how much heresy is there.
Yeah, they had some Tau stuff. They had some awesome Age of Sigmar stuff. A Chaos Dragon, which looked amazing. But yeah, do
you know who was sculpting that Chaos Dragon?
I don't. I just saw a photo of it and I was like, oh, that looks pretty. But yeah, you know, so much cool stuff.
I like the Red Scorpion.
The Dreadnought.
The Leviathan.
Yes, so yeah, with twin assault cannons and yeah, you know, that's a model that you could potentially kind of appropriate and use for something as well.
Definitely. It's obviously that's the first variant that we've seen, like, you know, that they've done so will we get Legion ones? Will we get a Sons of Horus Leviathan? Will we get a...
They do love making dreadnoughts.
They do, and when I saw that, that immediately made me think, wow, that means we could have some of those on the horizon. Yeah, or the very least, like the upgrade knee joints, or panels that sit over the top of certain areas, just to upgrade. Wouldn't be too hard to do, would it? No, it wouldn't. If you just had little stick-on bits, effectively, to turn them into your Legion, would be quite easy. Yeah, definitely. So there's potential in that as well. It just, I suppose, it comes down to time and manpower and woman power. Yes. Yeah. No. I mean, yeah, it will depend. I think they probably will, because they do love a dreadnought.
Well, they must sell. Dreadnoughts must sell, as we said, because otherwise they wouldn't keep making them. All the million-T variations they have. But yeah, loving it. Absolutely loving it. Is there anything else about the weekend that the Warhammer Fest that you might want to ask?
Let me think.
Because
I don't think so, actually.
No, I think I've covered most of it. Again, I say, talking to GW's community team, just talking to the staff guys, and say, you know, getting to know a lot just from going to events and things like that is always good. They're always eager to talk as well, which is, you know, it's great feedback off each other and roll with that. It's worth noting that we're recording this Saturday night. There may be things drop tomorrow.
There could be. I don't think there'll be anything
major.
There might be something that comes out of the woodwork. Someone brings along a new model and sticks it in the cabinet.
Yeah, Forge World do have a habit of dropping something in, and Black Library might show, although they showed us quite a lot, so I'm not too sure. But also, people ask different questions, and they ask questions based on information that they got on a Saturday as well.
Yes.
So they kind of, it's only when you sometimes disseminate the information that you're like, oh, does that mean this, and this? Okay, cool, I'll go and ask about that, and that, and you get a little bit more information. So, yeah, jump on the forums.
And they're all a bit more drunk from they've got bad hangovers from going out on the lash. The night before, I think they're loose with their tongues.
I think a lot of the people that I talked to were driving back to Nottingham, so I'm not too sure that that's actually happening. But we'll give them the benefit of the doubt on that one.
Wasn't it a weekender where Graham McNeil was in the bar the whole night?
That would be every weekender.
And everyone just kept plying him with drink.
Yeah, there was. Yeah, it was the Heresy Weekender last No, last year he was fairly well behaved. It was the Black Library or the Heresy weekend of the year before where he was late for the first seminar by 40 odd minutes or something like that. Yeah. He was enjoying himself.
And why wouldn't you?
No, he wasn't the only author there either. Let's not say that Graham was an example of, kind of the exception to the norm. There were a few there that year that were thoroughly pickled. But again, yeah, why not? Because it was last year he was quite well behaved. We were sat up and he left me at the bar at about 12, just gone 12, something like that. So a fairly sensible hour for a weekender.
Yes.
Definitely. Right, well, I think that's WarhammerFest done. And we shall move on and close the show out. And that's WarhammerFest done for another year. All groovy, all exciting.
Well, done for another year, but there is another day.
There is another day, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but this is coming out afterwards anyway, so that's fine.
What I'm going to try and do is do a bit of a Golden Demon review.
Cool, so next show, hopefully.
Next show, hopefully, try and do a Golden Demon review of what was there, and I'm sure there's bound to have been some good heresy.
So that's something that didn't bring up in the news. There is a Golden Demon website.
Yes, there is.
Which is cool. So hopefully that's going to get more and more populated.
Yeah, and they're starting to put bits and pieces on. And I think they said they were going to do lots of coverage of the Golden Demon tomorrow.
Yeah, so
that'll be interesting to watch as well.
Yeah, so that'll maintain up like that. Because there was a site where you could go and look at every winner, wasn't there?
Yeah, it was. It was called Golden Demon or Demon Winner.
Yes.
That was very good, but obviously that stopped being updated a while ago.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was very good for looking at all the old stuff.
Yeah.
But the new stuff just stopped getting updated.
Yeah, and it was only winners. And sometimes there's as much value in looking at those runners-up as well.
Oh, definitely,
and things like that. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that, which will be cool. So yeah, Golden. I can't remember the website now. Is it just Golden Demon?
Golden-Demon.
Demon. Cool.
.com.
.com. Yeah. As an official Golden Demon website. So, and it's interesting as well because a few people I follow on Twitter are entering their first ever Golden Demon kind of thing, which is really good. Always good to see people doing that.
It's good to see people coming into it. Definitely.
Yeah,
because we're trying not to make it an elitist thing. It is a competition for everyone.
Yeah, and
obviously the level can be very high.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for me to almost look at their responses because they've some of them are very good painters who I don't think are going to get necessarily through. Because as we talked with Andy last week, there are things you have to do. Golden Demon is a contest where it's not always obvious what you need to do.
Yes.
From the outside. But no, it's cool. I had a couple of the Warhammer guys were like, I've always wanted to enter Golden Demon. I'm like, well, you can paint, just do it. If you're going to an event, just do it.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
That way you've broken that thing. It's not a barrier anymore. Right? There is
exactly.
I'm not going to enter because I'm never going to place. So, and my stuff's okay. It's never going to look great. So I'm not that bothered. But if you can paint, do it. Give it a go. No one's going to laugh at your models in there. Yeah, it's not that kind of thing. People want to see, people spend hours looking through those models. They're not, they're not just looking for the top one to kind of look at. They're looking at all the models to see stuff.
And also they photograph nearly all of them and put them in visions.
Yeah.
So if you've ever wanted your stuff in visions, one of the best ways of doing it is putting it in Golden Demon.
Yeah. Yeah. And get a decent kind of photo of your model as well.
And there's something to be said for winning a pin badge.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And you set those targets, don't you?
Yeah.
First time, you don't sit there and go, entering my first Golden Demon. If I don't win, I'm going to be, peeved. It's, no, I want to get to this level. I want to get to this level, and then move it up, progress.
Exactly, and I think it was at the Heresy Weekender, one of the guys there got a pin badge, and I remember seeing a picture on Instagram, and he had it in his cabinet, the pin badge and the little entry form.
Too right, because actually, how many people do that out of the whole hobby?
Exactly,
not a huge amount. It's just an achievement, and we all have, kind of our things that we hope to achieve, and say hopefully that helps spur that person on to try and do better if they want to. So yeah, Golden Demon, cool, Golden Dash Demon. We have our contest still running if you want to win a Golden Demon winning model.
Yes.
So this is Neil's Space Wolf that we've talked about a lot, and it will be sent to you wherever you are in the world. And all you have to do is email contest@theimperialtruth.com with the name of said model and a little bit of backstory, maximum 500 words, was it?
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be particularly long. If you're worried about, I don't want to sit there and write along, even if it was a couple of paragraphs.
Yeah, and
just a couple of short sentences, that would even be fine.
And at the moment, if you're thinking there, I don't know, other people are going to, there's not a huge amount of entries as we speak, whether people are writing them up or not, whatever. So I'd say it's worth your time just throwing something together, if that's all you can do. But certainly get in there. Don't let someone win it because theirs was one of a few options. Certainly not, you just try, have a go.
Yeah, definitely.
Have a go. Remember, it's a 30k podcast. So
it's a 30k model.
It's a 30k model on a 30k podcast. We're not looking for the best written. We're not looking for the funniest or anything like that. It's just whatever we like, really. And yeah, as you say, it might be a few sentences might win it.
Yeah, definitely.
Or a few paragraphs.
I mean, a paragraph could even be. It could just literally be what he is currently doing, the poses in, who he's fighting, etc.
And a cool name. Yeah. So don't feel scared to enter on that at all. And we want to give away a really awesome prize, really, because again, how many people win Golden Demons? Yeah, I can't win one, but to own a Golden Demon winning model is pretty awesome.
I think so.
Yeah, and that's from a bloke who's got a few.
Yeah.
So, just say contest@theimperialtruth.com, and we will draw that when we record the next episode, which will be just before the end of the month. So you need to get it in before the end of May 2016, just in case someone's listening to it way in the future. You never know.
Start getting it every year. Why am I getting all these emails?
That's it, yeah, too right. It's awesome. And then we have our own emails as well. So greg@theimperialtruth.com if you want to get in contact with me.
And neil@theimperialtruth.com.
Yeah, and if you've got questions, if you want some help, Neil's more than happy to help. Maybe
Definitely.
not an email every 5 minutes when you're stuck, but
can't open my paint pot.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. What's going on here? And airbrushing questions he might not be able to help with, but
I'm not the king of airbrush questions.
No,
and I think someone did send me. They sent me an airbrush question. It was myself and Miles from Lil Legend Studios, and it was, does anyone know about it? And I went, yeah, it looks blocked.
Yeah, no, that was.
I don't really know much about airbrushes. That
was my mate Dan.
Yes.
And he ended up managing to clean it out, and it was just full of gunk. I had a similar issue to him actually, and I managed to break the nib on the end of my. I over tightened, and you don't want to do that with an airbrush. It's really easy to break them. And my next thought was, oh no, I got it stuck in there and everything else. Certainly was an experience, a learning experience. But I actually ordered from Element Games and got it turned up the next day pretty much. I was like, awesome.
That's good, carry on.
Problem fixed. I was like, phew. But yeah, Starting to get that out. That's my next project. But yeah, you got anything to ask us on that kind of thing? Feel free.
I did have someone, I think it was on Twitter, ask me if it was a Thousand Sun or a word bearer on the base of the Space Wolf. And it is a Thousand Sun on there if you look at the shoulder pad. So
cliched.
Well, yeah, but it's it's meant to be.
Yeah, actually. So yeah, because I think I helped you posing that model. You weren't too sure which way to have him facing, so I'm going to take some credit for that. Yeah,
take credit for all my work.
Yeah, I made you.
You're like my agent.
I made you.
Take 10% of everything.
It's fine. In fact, we had someone message saying they wanted they're coming to Cardiff, and he said it'll be great to meet an internet celebrity. And I said, well, you'll be there. Neil will be there. So if you want to meet someone who's had their models in White Dwarf and won Golden Demons, Neil will be there. It'll be fine.
It's quite fun, isn't it? Because you're probably the same as me, Greg. When we go to a WarhammerFest or something like, we'll bump into people like Duncan and people off the heavy metal team. Oh wow! So it can be really amazing to meet people and talk to them, and then when you have the same thing happen to you, it's a little bit off-putting when people go, "Oh, yeah, I listened to your podcast." Oh, you go, "Oh, do you?"
But don't get me wrong, not off-putting in a bad way, but sometimes it takes you back because you forget that you do it.
Yeah,
you forget that people listen, and so you're like, "Oh, right, okay, cool." But it was great. I met some people today, actually. Not going to name names because there was a few of them, but it was really good to see all those guys, people I met at weekenders and things like that. And it's great. It is great to meet fans, but every now and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, I do a podcast. Yeah, that's how you know me. Yeah, okay, cool." So don't feel like you're ever putting us off or anything like that. It's generally good to see.
Really nice. I love it.
Yeah, it is. It's quite fun every now and then. We're like, "Oh yeah, cool. Yeah, that's me." But yeah, we are. The Cardiff event is going strong in numbers. I think we're up to about 40 now, which is awesome. What
was the maximum that we were looking for?
I was hoping for 50, pushing on 60. I still like 50 is the one I know we can do 50. 60 would be awesome, but we'll see. Who knows? Whether we get to 50 or not, who knows? I know there's a few people in the pipeline who've told me they're coming and will be paying for their tickets in the end. There's a few who are need their arm twisted a little bit more. I'm working on that. It's fine. And 60 would be amazing, but that's my kind of, you've always got to have a goal, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So, and there's plenty of space at the venue. It all means more work for me, the more people we have, but cool. We'll crack on with that. There's still more work to do in terms of the event pack, but again, as I've said, it's partly dependent on how many people are going and a few other bits and pieces. But I will say I've had the question about kind of who's attacking, who's defending, and it's neither side. There's a mechanic in the fluff to have it that everyone's hitting the planet at different times and there's no kind of massed cohesive invasion on either side. So there's going to be maybe attackers and defenders in different areas for different sides, as it were.
So you can't write your list and thinking,
no, it's
I'm going to have a defending list.
No, yeah, if you bring all the fortifications in the world, then you won't be screwed, but it won't be massive advantages to you either. So yeah, I'd love someone to bring, and in fact, one of the guys contacted me who might be bringing an army with a fair amount of fortifications in it. And great, cool, awesome. I'm not. The whole point of this for me is not to try and. I don't want to stop someone bringing what they want to bring within reason.
Yes.
Because I want you to be able to play the game the way you want to play the game, but I also have a responsibility as an event organizer to try and make sure that all 40 odd people have fun. So if you're bringing an army that isn't fun, is not fun, then in terms of the scenarios that are going on and everything else, then I might have to change something, alter something to make sure that people can have fun in that. And weirdly, that actually depends on players at times as well, because you can look at some armies and go, that is not fun. Yeah, actually, it becomes fun because of the person behind it.
And definitely, the player is a massive part of that.
Yeah, so it's kind of just a little bit of a balancing act. That's all it is, and fingers crossed I get it mostly right. We'll try. And the beauty of the narrative event is, at some point, if I realise I've got it wrong into game 2, then in game 3 I can actually write a rule that then helps to redress that balance. There's lots of little things that can be done in the narrative that just can't be done in a tournament, which is part of the beauty of having a narrative event. So, yes. Yeah, plenty to be done, and getting all the bits organised for that and starting to gear up for it, which is really cool. Just a reminder, because when I did put the pack up, I forgot that you can only put so many letters in the bank transfer thing. So if you're buying for more than one person particularly, then you need to email me with a list of names and some way of attributing it to that kind of that payment as well, and read the pack. That's the other thing. If you're gonna contact me about something, it's worth reading the pack first. And if you're going to send your list in, read the pack first and ask, because I have told someone you need to follow the pack when you send your list in, because of the way I want to have that going forwards as well. But yeah, it's cool. You never know, you might see some Stormbirds and stuff there.
Oh wow, yeah, could do.
Yeah, that would be amazing, wouldn't it?
That would be quite amazing, especially in the time frame.
Yeah, I'm hoping there's going to be at least one Dawn there, and maybe 2. Scratch-built Dawns.
What's better than double Dawn?
Indeed, but scratch-built Dawns, which is cool.
Yeah, no, that would be a good thing to see.
Yeah, and trying to think of the other armies that people have talked about, but without giving too much away, I'm getting the spare player army kind of sorted as well, to make sure he doesn't beat too many people either, because that's not what the spare player's about, is it?
Definitely not.
But yeah, so really looking forward to kind of progressing with that. I think that's about it. Don't forget, we've got the Patreon. If you want to head over there, I do that. It's absolutely brilliant, and I don't think I'll plug anything else. I think that'll do for this show. It's getting late.
It's getting late. If we miss anything, we'll try and cover it off in the next show.
Yeah,
we'll
absolutely.
Try and do cover obviously a bit of the Golden Demon.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff. There's lots of topics that we want to get done over the next few weeks, few shows. Lots of places I want to go with the show as well, and I've been, part of being at these events sometimes. When you've got a podcast, is trying to grab people to talk about stuff, to try and do stuff, and that's not necessarily people at Forge World or Games Workshop. Sometimes that's people I'm meeting there, or I know we're going to be there as punters as well, which is why I end up with a voice that's rather strained, like it is at the moment, because you do end up getting involved in all kinds of conversations about all kinds of things, and maybe other events that are going on, and trying to link up, and yeah, it's great. And that's the best thing about these events as well.
Yeah, it's a social gathering, isn't it, of like-minded people.
Yeah, I was at that event, in the queue, within 2 minutes of turning up. Miles is there, talking to his mate as well, and then Dan's there, and then I was talking to, the other guys that I know that have come along and done things, and yeah, it just kind of grows, and the more you go to, the more you get to know, the more you end up chatting to people, and yeah, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. All I can say to people is keep positive, because people want to chat to you more. There were a couple of instances where I was hearing conversation, I was like, don't really want to be part of that. I want to go over here with these people who are like putting out positive vibes.
Yeah, it's very true.
You know, and as a guy who can sometimes moan a lot, it's like, you know, I understand there's a certain level of hypocrisy in that. I try and keep that moaning with my mates who know what my moaning's like, where we can we let it out, we get rid of it, and then I can come back to this event and like, oh yeah, this is awesome. Because your manner of approach to these things is a real kind of measure of how much you will enjoy it.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
So you'll get more out of it when you go in with that positive mindset. And I tell you what, with everything that's going on with Games Workshop at the moment, I can't help but be positive. And that doesn't mean that I don't expect them to get things wrong. That will happen. They're trying stuff. But I look at what's going on and I start to think about the possibilities of what could go on from there. And it's like, frankly, it's awesome.
Yeah, I think we're in a golden age at the moment.
Yeah, it's an oft-used term, but we're certainly in an age that we haven't seen for a long time. And there are issues that they maybe have to get across, but there are many, many benefits to be gained from doing it, and a lot of it comes down to us as customers. This was the, kind of responding as well. One thing I wanted to say in the Black Library seminar that I forgot to say, Laurie Golding was saying, Beast Arises. He was specifically talking about that, but it applies to anything. When these guys and girls are sat in their offices without contact to the outside world, really, they don't know beyond the sales of something how well something's doing, or what's popular, or why it's popular is more important. So when something like the Beast Arises comes on, maybe it's selling well. Okay, cool. But why is it selling well? You know, is it because they know it's limited format? Is it because they know it's this? Is it because they know it's that? If people actually message them, and when I say message, I mean email them, you know, contact, support at, whatever, and say, look, I've been reading The Beast Arises. It's amazing because I'm loving reading about the political issues on Terra. You know, it's something, you know, we get the term bolter porn used a lot in Games Workshop novels, 40k, 30k. But for me personally, one of the best things about The Beast Arises is all the stuff that's happening on Terra where there's hardly any guns involved at all. If then someone comes to them and goes, I've got a brilliant idea for a book, but half of that book is going to be issues between the ruling party of here and the ruling party of here, and actually it's going to be really tense, kind of Game of Thrones-esque. Well, GW at the moment might go, well, no, don't think that will sell. But if 50 people have emailed them and gone, oh, this is brilliant, if we could have more of this kind of stuff, then it'll be like, well, maybe we can look into that. So they work off feedback as much as anyone else.
Yeah, it's important.
It is important.
Tony Cottrell often always used to say, companies pay a lot of money for customer focus groups, and then you just get everyone to hold their hands up.
Yeah.
Who wants this next? Who wants that next? You know, it is useful for them. They're not, you know, they're not involved with it. They're involved so closely with it that they don't actually know what's going on.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is where you get instances like they weren't 100% sure how well the Warlord was going to sell. All of us lot knew it was going to sell. I mean, there was a few people who were like, oh, no one's ever going to buy that. But anyone who's really in the hobby for a long time knew it was going to sell. They sold quite a few Warlords. Quite a few.
Yeah, actually, you're right. There are quite a lot of them about.
There are quite a lot of them. Bearing in mind it's a £1,250 model, there are quite a lot of them about. Much more than I thought there would be, to be fair. So, yeah. But they're, as you say, they're so involved and they know the issues and they know everything else that it's easy to forget that the fans have a slightly different viewpoint. So, yeah, you know, let them know. let them know, but let them know in the right way. And if you don't like something, if something is wrong, let them know in the right way. I don't like this because this hasn't worked because, and it needs to be. It's not. I don't like this because it's not what I wanted. That's helpful for no one, right? You know, I don't like Corax. He should be like this. It was quite funny with Lehman Russ. It's like all these comments about the beard, and I'm like, even if they brought out a bearded head, people would then be like, I wanted a helmet.
Yeah. We gave you 2 head variants. We thought we'd do one with a beard, one without. Oh, but I wanted a beard with a helmet head.
Yeah, absolutely. They would be, you know, and that's just the nature of the beast. Yeah. You're going to want this. You're going to want this. Another group's going to want this. Another group's going to want this. They can't do it all. But if you have a valid, like the Spartan tank tracks, the reason Spartans now come with their tracks attached to the thing is because they knew there was an issue, because people were contacting them saying, this is an issue. This is not working.
Yeah.
And so they fixed it. Boosh.
Job done.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't be afraid to email 412 Black Library Games Workshop, whoever it is that you need to email. Be polite. Be constructive, whether that's with your praise or with your criticism. But, you know, be honest and be polite. And you'll be surprised sometimes exactly what kind of response you get as well. So, yeah, I encourage us all to do it.
And that goes for the show as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I spoke to someone at the club this week, and he said, oh, yeah, I kind of stopped listening because of this. And I'm like, all right, didn't realise it was an issue. Okay, I'll look into that, and I'll ask around, and it might be that it's their issue, and no one else has it. But it might be that 20 out of 25 people say, oh, yeah, no, I agree. I was like, cool, I'll change it then. You know, and we are always looking, and there are things that are going to go ahead, and we will get it done. And I've tasked Neil to challenge me to make sure some things are done.
Is that why you're sacking me?
Yeah. So we're looking for a Slayer Sword winner painter.
Oh, you should have got Andy on.
That's it, yeah. I need to upgrade. But yeah, you know, it's all cool. I can take it.
It's like feedback's always useful. Like you just said, even for us, someone complained about the microphone and bits and pieces that I've got.
Yeah,
we've got plans to sort that out.
Yeah, which we said last week.
Yeah.
But again, that's one of the things. You know, that is going to be done this week. That is something that's going to be done. It has pushed me to make sure that I've suddenly realised for guys who've commented on issues with sound quality, in recording tonight, realised that some of the issues my hardware that needs replacing. So I'll do that. So I was hoping to do it anyway. This is the final push to do it. So cool. Thank you for guys who pointed that out. You know,
definitely, it's all useful.
Brilliant. This end bit's gone on a long time. We waffled. Who knew?
Yeah, we always waffle.
Indeed. But we'll leave it there, I think, unless you've got anything to add.
No.
Brilliant. Excellent, guys. You have been listening to The Imperial Truth.